Hello, and welcome to The Nature Connection, Science, Wildlife, and Environment Radio, with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy.
Today on Big Blend Radio's Nature Connection show, we're chatting with Margot-Carrera. She's a fine art nature photographer known for capturing landscape scenery, flowers, and wildlife. And we're excited to have Margot back on the show because she answered our 10 Success Insider questions about being a nature photographer. Her question and answer feature is in the October through December issue of Parks and Travel magazine. You can also see it on nationalparktraveling.com. So just type in Margot Carrera and you'll find her there. And thing is, go to her website so you can view her work, and also you can shop online. She has an Etsy store, so you can go to etsy.com/shop/Margot Carrera, and that's MARGOTCARRERA. Did I get that right, Margot?
You sure did. I'm so proud of you.
I know. Last time I got it wrong. I think I got my spelling all muddled up. But also, Margot's website directly is Carrera Fine Art. It's so good to have you back, Margot, and excited to talk further about, getting into photography and also talking about what people can do that are getting started in nature photography. And it requires, I think, for a lot of us maybe, some patience and kind of taking your time when you're out in nature.
That's true. It's funny because I'll go for a hike, and I'll always bring my camera with me, and I see these people jogging through the forest or jogging, through the woods, and I can't see how they're in tune with nature, because for me, I have to go through really slow. I have to listen to the birds, to the animals, to watch how the sunlight hits the trees and the flowers, and so a photographer needs to kind of tune into nature to get that really beautiful shot, to see, with the right lighting, and they can't just run right through and say, "Oh, that's pretty." Snap, snap.
Doesn't work. Animals, especially with birds, because I'm forever chasing bluebirds. That's what my name should be on Twitter, forever chasing bluebirds, because they almost know that you're about to lift your camera. They look at you and go, "I know what you're going to do. Here's the pose." And as you get ready to do it, they go, "Ha ha, bye-bye." And
oh, you know what? You have to ask their permission first.
Oh, see?
Seriously, I do. When I see an animal, through my heart, I just connect through my heart, and I just say, "May I please take your picture?" It's just something I learned from a shaman in Peru. Is respect. Yeah, asking for permission to be in this space, and permission to be around the animals, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember when you came back from Peru, and this was back when you were living in Southern California, and you came on the show from that, and that was that was one of those life-changing journeys, wasn't it, going to Peru?
It was. Yeah. It was. The shamans there, they worship nature. That's their religion, and they bless the land, and they taught me so much about the beauty of nature, how to tune into it, and most of all, just tremendous respect for it, which I wish that we all could share on the planet.
Exactly. I wanted to say thank you, because I know that you're a supporter of our Love Your Parks tour, of Nancy and I going across the country. In fact, actually sponsoring some of our segments, connecting with parks, nature, gardens. I know you love gardens, and we're going to be going around and photographing and filming and interviewing people about plants. The more plants we have in urban areas, especially, the better. But we're going to be doing a lot of that. And I think there's something to that. I think sometimes we're in such a fast-paced world, and that's what I love about your work and how it's accessible to people. They can have nature in their homes. It may remind them, hey, go outside. It's nice to look at it in here, but to go outside, because things get so fast that sometimes we forget what it's like to take a walk in the park. It's just an easy walk in the park.
Yeah, right. And, when you're in that really fast pace, what nature does for you is actually help you tune into yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
You no longer have to think about deadlines or your next project. You can just take a moment to breathe in, and the trees give you the fresh air, right? The oxygen. You can breathe in that beautiful oxygen and just calm yourself and really tune into your needs and to yourself and just, ground yourself. And so many people are out there running on thin air, really, literally.
I think
Yeah.
the best air is standing next to a tree. And I remember my grandmother always saying, go outside for fresh air, because the air in your home isn't really fresh like standing outside by plants.
Yeah, it's stale. Well, they emit oxygen, and they take in our carbon dioxide. So, so we do need more trees.
Yeah, you go to the tree and you say, hey, I got some carbon dioxide for you. And they go, okay, well, I got some oxygen for you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and you can ground through their roots. You ground your energy into the earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
yeah.
That's so cool. And there's something about plants. To me, I think they're alive. There was a study done. I mean, they're alive, but they're alive, but they're part of us. They're part of us. There was a study that they did. It was going around Facebook, this video, and they took kids, and this was a lesson on bullying, and it went back to one of my favorite books on earth is The Secret Life of Plants. And there was this study they did in this book, and this was done in the 70s. And it just is one of those treasures that, definitely not getting given away when we go on our tours. Is one of those things I'll always have. They did this study where they took leaves off of a plant, and one they just left alone and it died, and the other leaves, this man took them and meditated. It kept next to his bedside on this table, and every morning and every evening he would meditate on these leaves. No food, right? No water, no oxygen, same as the other ones that died. These leaves stayed alive through that communication, through meditation, which is still I believe in that stuff. I know, and it's scientifically proven. So now what was interesting to me, I just saw this going around this Facebook thing. They took two different plants, the same kind. I think I don't know, like a ficus or something like that, a normal indoor plant, green plant. And one, they were both in glass containers so no one could prod them or touch them. And so they took school kids, young, about 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, maybe younger, and you go up to one plant, and this was the plant you bullied, and you just, told it, oh, you're ugly, you're horrible, blah, 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 all these nasty things,
mean.
right? And then they go to the other plant, and they're all nice to the plant, and you're so beautiful, and you can see the kids have this change of I don't really want to be the bully. The plant, I think it was after a week or something, the plant that was bullied was dying and was wilting no matter what they did. The plant that was being talked nice to was yay, I'm happy, I'm here, and it showed these kids the effects of bullying. And I was like, isn't that amazing, that connectivity between us and plants? And I think as photographers, we get that. When you say ask permission, you communicate. There's this putting yourself in that energy zone almost.
I do, and when I take my picture, I can feel like if I'm honing in on a beautiful flower with the light shining on its petals, I can feel my heart open. So that heart energy is just flowing towards that flower as well. And so it's got to go also into the picture, right?
Right.
That love, that joy that I'm having taking that picture, and the energy that's being spent out there in nature. yeah, it goes into the picture. And I really, it's so funny because today I was talking to my yoga instructor, and she was looking at one of my plants, and it's right next to the chair where I meditate. And she says, "Oh my God, that plant is so happy." And it's right between me and a beautiful quartz crystal. And it's just like so expressive and blooming, and it's really happy. It's funny.
You have to care, for things. You have to let them know you care,
Yeah.
It just seems part of being human to me is to connect with nature. And if you don't, sometimes I feel like we go so far trying to disconnect ourselves from nature. Yeah. And I'm not sure why, because we need it. It's part of how we live and breathe. So you have to connect.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's so important. And that's what I try to portray, its beauty, so that people won't forget. And they can bring it in the house, and they, in that moment that they see it on their wall, they can transport themselves to the forest and be there and feel like for a moment, they're in nature.
I know that you've done a lot of healing work in the past with others, healing others. Mm-hmm. And through that, do you feel like you're still in that role of healing through your photography?
I truly believe nature does heal. When I was sick before, I would sometimes go out and just lay out on the lawn, and you can just feel that healing energy filling your body, and you get healing energy from the earth. You get healing energy being given off by the plants. The smells of the flowers, different flowers, are actually healing. That's why we use essential oils. Mm-hmm. And we know for sure that it goes into our body system, and it actually does affect and heal the body. So, and it's all coming from nature.
I love it. Nice. That's what I like about Ayurveda. Is that it's nature. It's there's this connection and just that taking moments of self-care and like through massage and meditation and even the way you eat your foods and things. There's just this natural balance. It just feels like how it's supposed to be. And nature, I say Ayurveda is nature's medicine. You know what I mean? It's just this very connected way of living. So the other part too is, when we look at now, we were talking about, get away from the computer, go outside into nature. It's interesting how photography has changed. So when you first started, I know you were classically trained. You go from now, actual film, not a card that you put in. Digital photography has changed the landscape. Do you miss the old way of doing photos? There's something to it. I know you did work in the darkroom. Isn't that kind of also where you get to have that energy in the project a little bit more?
I really fell in love with working in the darkroom because it's so quiet. It's I call it a Zen moment, because there you are with your creativity, and you have this blank paper, and you put it into the chemicals, and you swish, and all of a sudden you see this beautiful image coming to life, and it's a magical moment. And but it's also a very quiet and peaceful space that you're in. It's just you, the art, and in a quiet room. So I do miss that, but I do what I do now instead is I put on music that I love, and then I work on my computer on the art and the editing, and I even use my computer many times to paint onto the picture as well, or to just add my touch to give across the feeling that I want the picture to express. So sometimes I make it not as exact as what it was, but more like a painting. So I do both.
Mm. I think, you have, every industry changes, right? Not that I like to call photography an industry, but it is. But everything's always changing, just like nature has different seasons. We're in fall now, which is yay out here in the desert.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My favorite time.
I know fall is there is a thing. I don't know. I fall in love with every season because it's just there's this change, and you can watch nature change, and it reminds us to change. And I think there's always this excitement at when the seasons go into this change. But it's that same way in anything we do, and you have to kind of find. Okay, you may not like it at the beginning, but you have to find what you are going to like, or how you can change it to what you enjoy. Like you say, you use music. So what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Kind of what you would expect to listen to in a spa, something very soothing. Or I know when I paint, I like to listen to Mozart. I don't know, he just tunes me right into my art. Something about his work, I can really almost go. My art teacher used to say, "Oh, there goes Margot into her right brain," because I would just kind of disappear into my art when I paint. I go so deep and connect with it. But it just helps things flow and brings out more of the creative flow, I think. And so I do that, and and then I'm finding that I'm not only wanting to put my art on pictures on the wall, I'm searching for different mediums to put my pictures on. I've put it on wood, and I kind of like that. I've put it on metal, and that brings out quite a different depth of field. It's almost like a 3D look. So I like that for certain pictures. And
I saw you do that with the ocean scape, that you have a photo of the waves coming in, and you put that on metal, and there's something with those blues and the white that it has that. Yeah, I like that.
Maybe have you heard of the artist Ted DeGrazia?
No.
Yeah, he's passed on now, but his studio is here in Tucson, and he's just one of those people that painted in every single medium and every style, even to the point of putting his images on the things in your toilet, the balls that the floater thingies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have a wonderful guy out here who does metal sculptures, who uses everything made of metal to make his sculptures, and they're quite whimsical. And so I know what you're saying. I love when you go beyond the box. You think outside the box. Yeah,
you turn them all into like Christmas tree ornaments.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
But
so
I think
great.
that's the thing. Yeah, you're supposed to color outside the lines. You're supposed to. That's what creativity is. Why stop at one thing? It's interesting how that happens. Yet sometimes structure is what makes good art, and you talk about that in the Q&A that we gave you. You talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that your pet peeves. I really don't like people asking people that question, but it's the truth. There's always a pet peeve, and you talk about it's like everyone walking around with a phone thinking they're an amazing photographer. I've had it go. Some people are like, "Oh, that's such a beautiful photo you've taken, Lisa. Oh, you've got a good camera, huh?" And I'm like, no, it's got nothing to do with that. So it's really kind of interesting how people look at photography according to what camera you're using.
Exactly.
And
I really have. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's that same thing of everyone thinking they're a photographer because they have a phone.
Yeah, I have a good example of that. Even with and without training, there are people who are good at photography. And I have a story about my granddaughter. My son got married, and he hired a gentleman to take wedding pictures. And then my granddaughter took my camera and took wedding pictures. and she was 16 years old, by the way, at the time. And her pictures were so much better, even lighting-wise and angle-wise. She just had the natural composition, the natural eye to take a picture. And not only that, but she captured the people's emotions on her pictures. The other photographer, they were like snapshots. And you didn't get a feeling coming out of it, but hers, you got such beautiful emotions she captured. So there's just a difference, you know, and it didn't matter what camera you had.
No.
It also matters if you have the eye or and the training helps too. Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like one is a record of what happened. Snap, snap, snap.
Yeah.
Don't forget to have all the bridesmaids together. Make sure you got that. Don't forget to have the cake cutting picture. Those standard pictures that everybody has to have, kind of thing. And then the other one is, oh, look at the face on that lady over there. I got to take that picture. That's the difference. One is a record, and the other one is the emotional record.
Yeah.
Which is
so
everything.
So there's that difference too. And I noticed that when I was in college, you know, in a class full of photography students, there were those that just, you know, brought about, didn't matter what they were taking, whether it was people or shadows or a tree, their expressions were all different. And so.
It's interesting. That's why I say there's that having some knowledge, you know, it's like as a musician, learning your chords, your scales, learning composition as a photographer. That's your structure, part of it, you know. The one thing I wanted to ask you about is we asked you in this Q&A, again, everybody, it's up on nationalparktraveling.com right now. We asked about some of your favorite places to photograph, and you brought up Alaska. And beautiful photo, and it just had that mist and all those different textures of the trees. Where were you in Alaska?
I went, what's coming is
Sitka.
Sitka, yeah. But I went to several spots there, but it didn't seem to matter because the goal of the Alaskan government, or the goal of the people, is to keep that place pristine. And so you're seeing nature there that is undisturbed, like we should be seeing in the national parks. That's why I'm supporting them. We need these places where it's, you know, gone untouched, where you can see the mist coming through the trees and nature at its most beautiful, very rustic. And you can see the bears wandering through, or you just don't get close.
I know, but I love that. It's so cool to like be in the scene of a picture but not be the picture. Like, you know, you just get to be this little bump on the log and watch this whole world that normally you don't take time to see. And then, you know, instead of being the center of the picture, you get to be the observer, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, when I took the picture of the mist coming through the trees, there was a feeling that came with that.
Yeah,
it was awe-inspiring. I actually got chills, and I felt just so much love for the space. It was just it was a moment. It really was a moment. So that's out there. We just need to respect it. We need to honor it. We need to take care of it, and capture it on camera too.
You took a photo also of two people on a bench, sitting on a bench under this beautiful tree, and the composition is just so flowing. It just feels like the arc of Mother Nature going, hey, and they're just taking in that, talk about that nature connection. They're overlooking like a river or a loch, and it kind of looks like England to me in a way, but where was that?
Okay, are you sitting down? It was at UC Davis.
Oh, wow.
on their campus, they have an arboretum. And so I took my camera and walked. I think it's a 3-mile walk. You can walk along the river, and they have all different kinds of plants. And and there was this gorgeous tree. It was a summer's day, and there was this cute couple sitting very romantically, and it was just like the mist going through the trees. It was a moment. And I captured a moment, and it was romance. To me, it was a moment of romance and a rapture with nature. Yeah.
Nice. And that's true. You have to be ready for those moments, you know. I think that's the interesting thing about photography is, you know, just as little, they're fleeting moments if you're not prepared,
especially in nature.
Yeah. And you love gardens. That was the thing you talked about, this beautiful botanical gardens in Vienna, Virginia, and Meadowlark Botanical Gardens. And now I want to go. And that's the thing, Nancy and I have a thing. I mean, we're going to be garden hopping across the country because
I love gardens.
I think that's such an important thing, is to have these kinds of places for people. And I love native plants because that's really good for the environment and for birds and everything. But there's something about going in. Don't you feel like talking to all the, well, you do. You talk to plants. I know. I just want to go, hey, how are you? You know, it's like, oh, you're about to bloom. How does that feel?
I don't quite do that. I usually just say, oh, gosh, you're so beautiful. Or, oh, I love you. Yeah. But, yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I know we're going to meet up in a garden somewhere, right? And do our little 1-hour walk and photography session and go have some fun in a garden. And we'll have to have a picnic. You know, we like our little picnics. We have champagne picnics everywhere we go. That's the sad part of our life.
And we do talk to all the plants and animals.
And we do. And so just be prepared, Margot. You might be embarrassed going with us. I don't know.
No, what I'll do, since I'm from Napa, what I'll do is I'll bring the champagne or I'll bring the wine.
Oh, how many gardens are we going to now?
I'm sure you'll invite me to more now.
Right. Well, you know what? We've learned, and you know, in parks, this is our thing, you know, and the beauty, like the first phase we're saying of our tour, what was so amazing is all these different places, and of course there's a lot of nights where you're up in your hotel room all night, you know, working on everything. But then there are these moments where no matter what's going on in the tour, you're in some place in nature. Nancy and I just look around and go, this is our living room today.
Yes.
You know, so everywhere we go, we're like, this is our living room. And we'll sit at a picnic spot somewhere and go, so how are you? And how long have you been here? You know, talk to the trees or the squirrels or whatever. But we do really have our champagne hikes and walks. And we take our time just like you. We're incredibly slow. So I don't know how much, you know, how well we're doing on the health side of that, but I know it's good for us. But we come back and, you know, we look at every little thing, and that's how we learn about all the different species. And you see animals do things if you take your time, because then they get to know you're there. They know, oh, you know, just she's fine. She's doing her thing. That's okay. There's no harm there. And then you start to get better photos. You start to understand how nature works, the ecosystem, what the spider's doing with the web, and you see things that you didn't even know existed, you know. And then you sit down and you have your champagne, and I'm telling you, no matter where we are,
they all come.
The birds come, hummingbirds, everywhere. We have a friend out here, Rondi. She comes on hikes, and then her friend Laura came with us, and Rondi told her, these girls have champagne on their hikes. Seriously. I mean, we're not, you know, being drunk.
I gotcha.
We just have our little sippy moment. But if you're going to have champagne outside in nature and in like pristine nature, there's nothing like it. And so we go, and so Rondi always makes sandwiches. And Laura's like, no way, they don't do this. We took them to Buenos Aires Wildlife Refuge south of us here in Tucson. And, you know, right now, all the sunflowers, you are walking literally through a hallway of sunflowers on a boardwalk over Little Cienega River area, which is not a river, but it's so magical. Yeah. And so Laura is like, no way. And then she sits down and she's out in nature, and here come all the hummingbirds, the flycatchers, the vermilion flycatchers come in. And I'm saying, look, the hummingbirds will come. And they do. And Laura's now like, well, when are we all going on another hike? I want to go. I want to go this whole
I think
experience.
They can actually smell the champagne.
I think they know. The hummingbirds know. they're sugar birds, right?
Yeah.
So
maybe they smelled the sugar. I don't know.
So Martha, we're
they
gonna
may
have
like
fun.
the sugar. Yeah. It's funny you're saying hummingbirds because I had a ceremony with the shamans in Peru, and they gave me a name, and it's Mama Quinta, and Mama Quinta is Mother Hummingbird.
Oh, cool.
And they say that the hummingbirds are the messengers of the mountains, and
wow.
So they're messengers. They carry messages. So
yeah. There's a legend about the hummingbird that when the species came to be, the first hummingbird flew from the highest heavens down into the depths to the center of the earth and got some of that molten fiery lava kind of fire and tucked it under his chin and came back up and gave the fire to mankind. And that's why they have that iridescent red under their chin. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I like that.
Me too. And they're symbols of infinity because they fly in the figure of 8.
Yeah, their wings do figure 8.
Their wings, yeah. So that's, wow. So have you ever wanted to go to a specific botanical garden that you've never been to, that you've like eyed out going, I want to go to this garden? Or it doesn't have to be botanical, but it could be, poppy fields, how we have those in Southern California out here, Is there a specific place that you've been eyeing and going, I want to go, and you haven't been to yet?
Oh, well, it's not in the United States. I want to go to the tulip gardens.
Oh, wow, in Holland.
In Holland, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to send you a link to an article. Travel writer Debbie Stone just went and did that.
That's beautiful.
And she went to that huge flower market, that's over there.
Yeah.
Oh, and the tulips. Nancy has been to Tivoli Gardens in Amsterdam.
That's so much fun.
That is,
there's just so many places. Like I was thinking about the Kew Gardens in South Africa. How beautiful, there's just so many awesome gardens to go to.
Did you go to the San Diego Botanic Gardens, which used to be Quail Gardens when you lived in San Diego?
Yeah, probably almost every week.
Okay, yeah. I love that garden. Yeah. I love it, and now they have sculptures in there. And that was just that bamboo hallway. There's something about when it's like a forest of bamboo, I know, but like there's something about that that's just
it is gorgeous. Yeah.
It just moves gracefully.
The
slightest little breeze and it all moves. It's so pretty.
Okay, I got two more questions for you. Okay, so one is, I did ask you in the questions if you could invite any 3 people for a dinner party, who would they be? And you chose Ansel Adams, George O'Keeffe, who's amazing, and Jesus, so you could heal people. That's good because hey, you got flowers, you got landscape, and you've got healers. So I like that. I'm going to ask you about a 1-hour walk. Because now you're part of our Facebook group with people taking 1-hour walks, and it's mindfulness really about seeing things when you're walking or having that conversation. But now, if you're going to take a walk with someone, alive or passed on, who would it be? Take this 1-hour walk, and where are you going to take this 1-hour walk? It could be somewhere you've never been or you want to go to, and what are you going to talk about? Because we like gossip with our champagne.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to go with my granddaughter, Kaylee Marie, and because we both love all forms of art. She likes to paint. I like to paint. She likes photography. Obviously, I do. and we're going to go for a hike. I haven't been in a long, long time. I'd like to go to Yosemite. Yeah, and I'm going to talk to her about just how important it is to be a good steward of nature and not only, paint it or take pictures of it, but, protect it as well so that as she grows up and her children come along and her grandchildren come along, that they can enjoy it as well. I want them all to experience what we experienced during that walk, and
I love that.
That's why I do what I do. It's so important. We're at the precipice of an important period of time where we really do have to take good care of this planet and respect it in all manner. And
I agree, for sure.
I don't even want to think if we don't. I don't want to think of the consequence. So that's the conversation I want to have with her, so that it keeps going for me, and maybe bring along my daughter too, because she feels the same way. And just keep it going generation, so we have good stewards.
And memories. Good memories.
And we have wonderful memories, yeah. So
Yosemite is so magic. We were there. They had just had fires when we were up there. It was 2013 on our tour. We went up early so that we could, that people know that the towns were open and not burned down, and communicate with everyone. And then we went back again in October, and we were there over Halloween. Remember, Nancy?
Yeah.
And it snowed in Yosemite early. And our friend John DeGrazio, he runs Y Explore Yosemite Adventures. He takes people out for hikes, and he takes them up Half Dome and all of that. And anyway, so he took me, and then I know Nancy wasn't doing. You had a cold or something, the change of weather, and the snow was there, and I was like, this is magic. And because it was fall, so you had the leaves, the dogwoods were just this brilliant rust, and then you had the snow, and the peace was awesome. And I took Nancy in there again, and it was kind of melting, when we went through. We kept going around and around in Yosemite. You and I did a lot in Yosemite's magic.
Yeah. Really beautiful.
And to be on the snow, I remember seeing this big coyote, but he was like this. He almost looked like a wolf to me. He was so furry and dark.
Out.
Yeah, he looked like a gray wolf, like a dark gray wolf. But he was so thick and beautiful. This was the magic that we went again on a walk with John, and we had a few other friends with us, and he took us to these spots. And the lakes, the reflection, because of the snow and the winter weather, the reflections in the water were so incredible. And there was like ice on top of the water, but they looked like ice cubes, these little squares of ice, like raised up, like someone went and said, here, have some ice cubes on there. It was magic. It was absolute magic. But that day, this was the coolest memory ever. We stopped because we saw this deer and this really big stag, and I was like, oh, I want to get out of the car and photograph. Get out, and I'm walking with John, and lo and behold, a coyote comes running down the street, right towards me. And then I look, it's not me, it's this deer. This coyote was chasing a deer down the road right by me. Boom. And we did film it. It was a trippy thing to be right in and just stand there and kind of know that you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You know what I mean? Isn't that connection you were talking about, where you just stand there and you're like, I'm going to be just fine. No, the coyote's not going to do anything to me. He's after the deer. But it was the most amazing thing to just stand right there. I've never seen a coyote go after a deer.
Isn't it nice to know that they have a very short attention span, so they can only focus on one thing? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Dogs and coyotes and wolves, they have really narrow focus. So if they're focusing on a prey that they're after, even if you're standing right there, they're not going to see you. They're just focused on it. And that's why sometimes your pets don't listen to you, because they're focused on something else. So if you want to train your pet, you got to make sure it's focusing on you. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. The last thing I wanted to bring up is talking about important tips to pass on to those getting started in nature photography. And one part of your answer was to join a group of landscape photographers. Do you find that's important, that people pass tips on, and that, you talk about, being stewards of the land and of nature? Isn't there that responsibility of people all working in the same field, of working together to raise the bar, to help each other, and not necessarily compete in a a horrible way, but to work together.
Yeah, it depends on your group, of course, and the amount of ego in the group. But you'll find all kinds in these groups. I just go on Meetup and look for photography or landscape. And the reason I said it is because it'll get you to go out to spaces. Like, I'm new in this area. I don't know where the most beautiful landscapes are, but I bet you that somebody that's lived here 20 years does. And so if he's taking a group to a particular area, that's where I want to go. So you'll find the better areas, but there are some photographers that want to just be off by themselves, even if they go in a group. And so you just have to respect that. And then there's some that will stand around and give you ideas, and you can we usually met for lunch afterwards, and I asked about equipment, what's the best lens for doing this, and so that's why I said to get yourself a group. No matter what kind of photography you do, find a group that enjoys the same thing, and you'll find your art grow, and you'll find more opportunities to take pictures.
You also talked about the importance of online classrooms for photographers now. You see these, on Facebook all the time, like, I'll teach you this, I'll teach you that. A lot of photographers, well-known photographers, doing online courses as part of what they do as a career. So you said that to keep up with your classes, because things are, as we've seen, they've changed.
Oh my gosh, editing changes every year.
Yeah.
The equipment, even the ones, if you're using the same one, like I have Photoshop and Lightroom, they're updating constantly. So you get a new version. Yeah. And so you want to keep up on it so that you know how to use what they're adding.
I know now they've gone into more of a subscription base compared to what they used to do too. So Photoshop used to be super expensive, and it's changed.
Yeah, I think it's because of the advances that they did that, because you'd have to buy a whole new program, and people were complaining, a couple $100 every year, So let's break it down.
It used to be $1,000
when it first came out. It was like, oh my god.
Back in the day when we used to take the programs and put them on a disc, and then you'd have to have them on a disc. But still, cameras will come with those, like even the Canon that I got, here's your disc, and, but it was really more. No, it didn't actually. Now I think that was the Sony. I don't know, but it's all changing all the time. Well, Margot, we want to thank you for joining us, being part of our Love Your Parks tour, and for the land and nature stewardship that you do. And everybody, again, you can keep up with Margot. Go to CarreraFineArt.com, and I'm going to spell that again, CarreraFineArt, CarreraFineArt.com. She's also online on Etsy, so you go to Etsy.com/shop and then Margot Carrera. So just type that in on the search there too, you'll find it, and it's also on CarreraFineArt.com, the link to that. And her Q&A and her photos are also featured in the October through December issue of Parks and Travel magazine, and you can see them on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Margot when you get there. And we want to thank Margot, and also thank you all for listening. Our Big Blend Radio shows air Sunday through Friday. The schedule is up on bigblendradio.com. You can listen as shows go live, or you can listen anytime on demand from all kinds of outlets. If it's Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player.fm, or Spotify, iHeartRadio. There's a lot. So it's all there. And we've got some music for you, Margot. It's called Where the Rain Falls. And this is from a fellow nature lover, Kimia Penton. She's based out in Texas. And everyone, this is the title track from her brand new EP. It's just released. And you can also listen to her interview. Just go to blendradioandtv.com and type in Kimia. That's Kimia, Kimia Penton. Her website is kimiapmusic.com, P for Penton. And she's a violin player, a singer-songwriter, and just an awesome soul. So you're going to want to check out her music. So here it is, Where the Rain Falls. Thanks so much, Margot. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, Lisa.
know